Welcome. Welcome to the Career Doctors, where we share conversations to cure your work life. My name is Sonia Miller with my awesome co-host, Andrea Horvath, and we are excited to have you with us. So this series is perfect for you if you are unhappy with your work life in any capacity, and you just don't believe it could be any different. Perhaps you're starting to give up, or you're just kind of stuck in a rut. Or maybe you want to transition. You want to transition in a big way or maybe a small way, but you just don't know where to begin or what the next thing would look like, what that is. Maybe you've been on your career path for a long time. You've made really great sacrifices. You've been hoping it would pay off. You thought it would pay off, but it hasn't paid off. And you're starting to maybe give up hope. And the frustration level is just increasing. Or maybe you know that you're settling, or you feel that you're settling, and no matter what you try, the reason you're settling is because you don't know what else to do. If this resonates, or there's some other version of dissatisfaction with your work life, your livelihood, your business, your dream business, we are here to support you and are happy to have you here. So we love to always start with an engagement question to really connect with today's topic. Today's topic, we're in episode 8, is how to blast open the doors to opportunities, really blast them wide open. And so we have a question for you. So I'd love for you to put in the chat any comments, any questions, any aha moments. We'd love to hear from you throughout the whole episode. But to start, I'd like you to think about, what kind of opportunities would you love to receive? If you could just wave a magic wand and those doors open wide open, what kind of opportunities would you love to receive that would really take you to the next level, that you know would bring what you're hoping for the most? So I'm going to give you some examples. So let's say maybe you would love to connect with a person of influence. You just know that if you connected with the right person, all kinds of things would open up for you, new connections, new possibilities. Maybe that's the opportunity. Or you would love the opportunity to manifest resources. Maybe you have this idea that you'd like to make a reality, might be a business, might even be within a company that you're working in, and you want the resources of staff to just really take it to a new possibility. Maybe the opportunity would be getting in front of your ideal audience because you have this message and this passion that you just know would land if you were in front of the right people, the people who want what you have. Maybe the opportunity is a promotion that you've been passed over for many times, and you're just ready for it. It's like, just give me the opportunity already. Maybe it's the chance to do something that you don't have on your resume, but you know you could do it. And all you need is that opportunity, somebody who will just like say, okay, I'm going to put my faith in you, do it. And maybe it's a second chance, just the opportunity to have a second chance because you've learned from your mistakes, you've learned from the past, and you know that opportunity would make all the difference. So just whatever opportunity would be for you, just allow yourself to connect with what that would be. And what we'd like you to do is put in the chat, what is your MO? What's your default setting, your mode of operandi when you are wanting an opportunity? And we're going to give you two choices, A or B. So for the most part, do you compete or hunt for openings or opportunities that feel scarce? So you do compete for them? A, that's A. Or B, do you choose from ample opportunities? You've got all these opportunities and you get to choose. Lots of abundance. So which is it? A, are you more of a competing and hunting for scarce opportunities, or B, a chooser among ample opportunities? So please put that in the chat. Whether you are here live or you're going to be joining us later in the recording, we want to connect with you. All right. So wherever you're at, we're here to tell you that in today's episode, you're going to be having an opportunity to explore how you have equal access to both of these scenarios if you have the right skills. And most of us in traditional sort of corporate America, but even in the business world, whether you're an entrepreneur, however your livelihood plays out, most of us have well-developed skills to navigate seeming scarcity. That is just almost baked into us. That's baked into us. fewer of us have the skills to actually recognize and access abundance. And the thing to know is that the distinction between these two is when we over rely on professional development and malnourish personal development. Okay. If you're hitting an upper limit, whatever that looks like, and you think that you need to work harder to find these scarce opportunities, and you need to get the next degree, the next certification, you need to put in more time to be enough to compete among the masses for these scarce opportunities, your upper limit is not because you don't have enough credentials, okay, or your resume isn't built up enough. Your upper limit is because you are malnourished in the personal development skills. You can think of them as hard skills and soft skills. And once you start to really balance those out, then those upper limits dissolve. All right. So that's what today is about. And with that, let's see, what have we got in the chat going on here? I would love to be in a situation where money's not an issue. I would be making different choices if money were not part of the deciding factor. So great to have you here, Roxy, Kathy, A. All right. Well, thank you for sharing. And we're looking forward to what we have here today. So with that, let's see here. I'm going to introduce myself. We'll take a little time so you know what we're up to. My name is Sonia Miller. I'm an empowerment coach and energy healing practitioner for accomplished women. And I am passionate about helping women to shift from settling for less to being sought after. These are two different mindsets and skill sets. And so this is what allows accomplished women to actually finally get the purpose, passion, and prosperity that's been eluding them, that upper limit problem. And that skill set into being sought after is what makes all the difference. So something that I'm currently working on is I am the developer of a program called the Receive Now program, which teaches people how to receive. Receiving is its own skill set. Most accomplished women know how to get, very few know how to receive. And I've been teaching this for a few years now. And what I'm working on right now is taking it to the next level. I'm up-leveling it with getting it onto a student hub so that it can be more available everywhere. So really excited about that. And it's wonderful to see the transformation and the ease that happens as women learn how to receive. So that's me. Andrea, how about you?
Well, it's so awesome. So much of what you said was so awesome this morning, Sonia. But I'll first introduce myself and then we can dive right more into those topics. So if you don't know me, my name is Andrea Horvath, and I help ambitious, badass women figure out what dream career or business has their name written all over it. And this is really all about women connecting to who they really are. You know, we're taught in this world to, you know, as Sonia talks about, just go out in this world and hunt and seek and look for opportunities. But so many women don't actually even know what they want, where their zone of genius is, where they're brilliant, and leveraging it. So the core of what I do is connecting women back to themselves, increasing their confidence, and then going out into the world and figuring out what the next career step looks like. So actually, right now, I just launched literally today a new program called the Soulful Startup. It's been a labor of love over the last month or so. And it's a program really geared towards that change maker, that visionary woman who knows she wants to start a business, doesn't quite know what that is exactly, maybe has some ideas floating through her head, hasn't quite figured out what it is exactly. I help her figure that out and then we launch it. So this is, yeah, it's an exciting day for me today to be launching that. So yeah. So today's topic, what we're going to do today is we've got some feedback from people, and we love getting your feedback, by the way. So if you've got comments or things you're loving about what we're doing and things you'd love to see more, please do share with us in the DM because it's super helpful for us to know. But people have told us they love it when we dive a little bit deeper. So we cover often a lot of topics. We've been using the format of 3 keys, and we thought we'd try something a little different today and dive a little deeper into each of the topics that we're talking about. So we're really going to go through like why it's not working. You know, the premise of our series here is that women are working really hard. We see you, we talk to you, we hear you. You are trying so hard and doing so much and not getting the results. So, that's always an opportunity to take a step back and go, okay, well, what's not working? And we see so many of you with so much value and so much, well, just say value, just leave it right there, really, and abilities and things to offer that you're not getting the opportunities. So we're going to dive into what actually has to shift, because it's not about actually doing more and being more. And, as Sonia talked about, it's not about another degree. It's not about getting an MBA. It's not about getting another certification. It's not about revamping your resume yet another time. It's not about putting in an extra 15 hours a week so the company you're working at can give you a raise or see your value. That's a lot of what we've been taught. So in this episode, we're going to dive into, well, what actually has to shift. And then we're going to dive deeper into the how on this. And this is what we've heard from you. So you want to know a little bit more about the how. So how to actually blast open the doors to opportunities. The only way to really blast open the doors to opportunities in the energies definitely that we're in right now, the ones moving forward, is to actually recognize that you are the prize. You are the one with the value. You are the one with things to offer. The way we've been doing it is looking at the opportunities as the prizes. What happens when we do that is that we go into scarcity mode. And, Sonia and I always talk before the show, and then we talk a couple days before the show as well. And this topic of scarcity is so rampant right now. We talk to women all the time, and we know you're in a place of scarcity. But that's how we've been taught, as Sonia mentioned at the very beginning. We've actually been taught to think in a way of scarcity. And we're going to talk about how that shows up. However, the way you switch that is to actually realize and recognize that you are actually the prize. And I'm just curious, anybody who's watching right now, have you ever thought of it that way? Have you actually ever thought, when you're asking for a raise or you are looking for a job, have you actually ever thought of yourself as the prize? And how does that actually feel to you? Because a lot of what we've also been taught in our society is that's kind of arrogant, right? However, when I talk about scarcity, we're also talking about not only a scarcity of opportunities, but often we undervalue ourselves. This is what I see all the time with women, is that women specifically, and I think people in general do often as well, women undervalue what they can do. So that we run these programs of, I am not enough, I am not doing enough. And then we try to go out in the world and create these opportunities when our energy says, I am not enough. Sonia, do you want to add to that?
Yes. I think as everyone who's listening connects with this, just become aware of what's arising for you. I can already sort of feel and hear some of the questions is like, well, yeah, how do I become the prize? And what if I don't feel good enough? And there really are very few opportunities, whatever is arising for you, just instead of automatically believing them, just take a step back and just say, oh, isn't that interesting? These are the thoughts and the beliefs that are constantly, this is that baked in consciousness that creates a reality. And so to give you another opportunity to explore what it feels like, the difference when somebody is operating as if they are the ones of value or the prize versus the external being the prize, just think about experiences you've had with other people where and there's actually many studies done out there in the dating world. Okay, let's look at the dating world and think about when you're around somebody who just feels like you just know that they're comfortable in their own skin. They're confident. They're not perfect. They're just confident in their own skin. They're relaxed. And I mean, studies and articles after articles talk about how confidence is the most attractive quality in a person. It's irresistible. Well, that's a person who isn't operating from not enough. They're not even arrogant. They're just comfortable in their own skill, and it's very attractive. And part of why that's attractive, to go a little bit deeper, is when somebody is comfortable in their own skill, their skin, their own humanity, which means that they accept everything about themselves, perfect or not, it gives you permission to be all of you, right? So we feel people's energy, and this is what we're starting to tap into today.
Perfect, perfect. And that is so true. And I'm getting some comments in here. So Amy said, I found that helped me come on the realization I was misaligned with the organization. Right. If you're always having to like go into this prove energy, we know we're out of alignment, right? And we're trying really hard. Chrissy, we have spoken about this a few times, Andrea. Yes, you're right. You've given away so much energy to prove that I am worthy of more opportunities at work. But I realize that I am worthy. I just need to believe it. Oh my gosh, I have goosebumps as I'm reading that, Chrissy, because that's it. You are worthy just because you exist. And this is a lot of that scarcity that we're talking about right now is people that aren't even seeing their own worth and their own value. And then they're, like I said, going out into the world. So when Sonia was talking about dating, and it's such a perfect example. And the reason why we talk about dating, it's good. Here's the thing, what we've done in our world is we've gone, here's your career and here's money over here. And we do it this certain way. And the rest of your life, we do this way. And what people are realizing is you can't actually do that. How you do one thing is how you do everything. Okay? How you do one thing is how you do everything. So you can't sort of say, well, I'm going to be different in my career because that's the way it has to work that way. Energy is energy. Energy doesn't lie. It's the same concept. So when we're talking about dating right now, I'm going to dive into this one because it's so easy to see, right? Whatever we chase runs. So in the dating realm, you can see that it's so obvious to see, right? If someone feels that you're clingy, like no one wants to be around somebody who's all clingy and needy and wanty and desperate feeling. We repel. We're repelled from people like that. In the dating world, we're just like, ooh, get away from me, right? Yet, in the corporate world, in the business world, and our careers, we often do that same thing. We go into this needy kind of, I got to prove myself energy, and we expect it to be different. But it's not actually different. Energy doesn't lie. So when you look at that, you go, okay, so if you're approaching your boss about an opportunity you want to pursue, if you're coming from that needy, clingy, and this is different from having needs. I was hesitant to use the words needy today because there's a big difference between being needy and having needs. It's the energy of I'm not worthy. And when employers see this, or potential clients see this, or anybody else see this, it literally pushes them away. It's energy. We can sense it now. And if you think about it, you're all on LinkedIn. Have you all gotten a DM where somebody sends you a DM and I call it being pitch slapped. It's like somebody flies in with a DM and is like, guess what? I have a solution for you. And you're just like, ooh, like you just literally, you can feel yourself like just go, yuck. That person feels needy. That person feels desperate. That person feels something. We can sense it and we can feel it. Yet so often in our careers, this is what we're told really works. I talk to women who put out, 50 resumes. They'll put out 100 resumes, 150 resumes, right? And they're not getting the results. And I'll always say to them, stop putting out resumes and check in with your energy. Like, are you starting to feel desperate? Are you starting to feel needy? Because that's going to come across as you are looking and wanting to manifest opportunities. Well, Sonia, hop in there. I could probably keep going.
I mean, I've used when you talked about needs, having needs versus being needy, it just reminded me of one of the most powerful things I've seen instant results with, in terms of, and here's the thing about opportunities, all right? When you realize there's nothing to do and you do this inner world work, the opportunities just show up. I think that's the thing. It's like, and opportunities that you want and opportunities that you didn't expect. So it's not going to be an intellectual process. It's really about becoming curious about these internal shifts. And so this comes from, another one of my specialties is relationships. It's romantic relationships, and playing with the polarities of masculine and feminine. Nowadays, I talk about it in terms of doing versus being, but we live in this world of polarities, and we all have access to masculine and feminine, not gender, not sexuality, but attributes like the yin yang, doing versus being. Again, that holistic approach is what dissolves upper limits when we access both of them. But most of us are over reliant on doing. Okay, back to needs and neediness. And this is so important. So when you value your personhood, your beingness, all of you, your needs matter and you value them. Okay. When you don't value them, you don't even know what they are, then you're always looking outside of you rather than internally to have your needs met. That's what needy is. Needy is, I don't have access to internal nurturing and valuing of myself. You need to value me. So we're back to hunting, seeking, chasing. And Andrea and I came up with the 3 C's of scarcity, which is convincing, competing, and chasing. Those are all expressions of, I'm in a place of scarcity. I don't have value within myself. Everything is out there. I need to go hunt it down and find it. So the shift that produces incredibly fast results, and this was in romantic relationships, but it works in professional, it works everywhere. Like you said, Andrea, how you are anywhere is how you are everywhere, right? Is to shift from what I call get from to share with. When you're trying to get something from someone, imagine someone trying to get something from you, right? Whether it's a salesperson, I love that pitch slap, that was great. Whether it's a salesperson, whether it's a romantic partner, a friend, a family member in a dating situation, when you feel like someone's trying to get something from you, we just feel it. We go, blech, right? It's yuck, right? And we do that to other people, and people feel it because you're coming from lack and scarcity. It's this graspy energy. But when you stop and back up, just lean back, right? And you start to value your needs, your wants, your feelings, professionally, personally, you value it, and you approach conversations or things that you're interested in with, I'm just going to share myself. I'm going to share who I am, what I have to offer, my services, my ideas. I'm just going to share it. I don't need to get anything. I'm just going to share it, share with. Now you're in abundance because I have something to give, and I'm going to share my abundance with you. And then that's very attractive. That's where those opportunities like, oh, there's a match for my sharing, my abundance, there's somebody here who wants to receive it because they're looking for it. So I just went off on this like rabbit hole when you talked about needs and needy, because that shift to valuing self, which is not arrogant, it's self-worth, versus valuing everything out there in order to fill the hole, is everything.
I'm actually really glad you went there, because as this morning, as I was thinking about this, I'm like, I think being able to distinguish between needy and needs, because this is something that has come up in our conversations here before, is it's important to have your needs met. We've said this, we've drilled it, and we speak to it. But yes, it is a difference between looking for somebody and hunting for somebody to make me feel complete, hunting for something to make me feel like I am valuable, and being validated by somebody else. And you're right, people can feel it. People can feel it when you want something from them. I got ahead of myself there. And a great example that Sonia and I thought of is, we've all been shopping. We've all gone to the mall, okay? And you walk into a store and there's a salesperson that walks up to you and is like, can I help you? And you're like, yeah, I'm good. And they like hover, they hover and you're just like, this is not cool. I mean, I'll walk right out of stores when they do that, when they hover, right? And then there's salespeople who come and they know they're available. They're confident in themselves. They're like, hey, do you need some help? And you're like, no, I'm good. And they're like, hey, I'll just be over there if you need me. And I don't know about you, but like when someone does that, I'm so much more relaxed. I'm like, okay, they're not anxious to make a sale. They're not anxious to get something from me. They're here to help and they're here to serve. And that automatically magnetizes me to them. And we need to start thinking in terms of magnetizing and drawing in opportunities as opposed to this chasing, convincing, competing. It's literally standing in your truth and your power and your beingness and owning your brilliance. That's part of it too. Owning your value, owning who you are and going, I have this to offer. Now you still do things like applying on jobs and all those things. It's the energy behind it. And this is a lot of what we're talking about in this series we've been so focused on the doing that we've not been intentional about the energy behind it. But the energy is probably 80 to 90% of it.
Yeah.
It's not 10. It's not 20. It's so interesting because I'm going to share an example because this just happened with a client within the last couple of weeks. So she is coming from corporate and she's just starting a business. And we were talking about sales. So sales is just a form of an opportunity, right? It's actually magnetizing in clients, right? And we were talking about it and she was just talking about how she wants to do sales. And it was interesting because all of a sudden she stopped and said, hey, wait a minute. She says, I love the way you do it. She's like, she says, I followed you on LinkedIn. She's like, you just sent me a message and said, hey, thanks for following me. She says, that's it. She says, you didn't, pitch me. She says, you didn't try to pursue me. You didn't try to do any of those things. And she says, like, I was curious. She says, she actually told me, she says, I get messages all the time. She says, there was something about yours. And it's like, because I wasn't attached to it. I wasn't coming. She's like, I could tell you weren't needy. So then we got on a phone call and she said, I could tell you weren't needy. You weren't desperate for my business. And she said, that actually drew me in. And so we had it's so interesting this came up. We had this whole conversation around it. That's appealing to people as opposed to, like I said, the pitch slapping, right? But it's the energy behind it, understanding that whatever you do, going out into the world and wanting to magnetize those opportunities, and your energy matters, and it matters way, way more than most people ever think or imagine. So I'd love to hear, before we keep going on here, some feedback. How is this landing? What would you love for us to dive into more? We are going to talk about a little bit down the line here how to do this. We're going to give you some really specific things because we love for you to have things to walk away with, to actually do or think about. But is this making sense to what you're seeing and what you're experiencing in your own reality right now? And I'd love to see some comments. But yeah, Sonia, do you want to chime in now?
Yes, I would. And yes, please share and ask the questions. I mean, as we're talking about this, I'm sure that they're like the yeah, buts. I'm like, yeah, but what about this? And yet, what about this? Please post those in the chat so we can respond to that. The other thing I wanted to talk about that you kind of prompted in me was 100% that energy is at least 80% of it. So 100% the 80%. But here's the thing. We've been talking a lot about your energy. The other thing is this wider perspective on everything is energy. Life is energy, right? And so part of this scarcity mindset that gets baked into us is, and it doesn't matter, you don't need to know why to make a shift. You just need to know what works and what doesn't work. And then for those who are interested, you can go deeper in understanding all of the science and the at so many different levels about how and why this works. But life is infinitely abundant. That's the nature of life. But if we didn't get those messages growing up, if we didn't feel safe growing up, if we experienced trauma growing up, if we're just products of however it plays out, and we don't even have an idea that life actually could be abundant, then we look at life through a lens, all of life through a lens of scarcity. And so, in order to start seeing life differently, a really powerful shift is instead of looking at every job, every connection, every opportunity that you want as your source of money, or your source of your up level, or your source of feeling good about yourself, because if I get this job, then it means I'm enough. Whatever, if we make those individual things our source, right? The physical world is always changing. But when you start to look at there's one source and infinite channels, and that one source, which is life, is abundant, then whenever a channel dries up, you stay open to other ones. Like there's always another opportunity, there's always another channel, and we don't get into that lack sort of orientation. And I'll share that I have many clients who are salespeople, speaking of sales, who are in charge of entire sales teams. And they've been well trained in the got to fill the quota, got to hunt for the next, the next lead, got to fill your funnel, all of those things. A lot of lack, lot of lack, lot of lack. And it's very stressful because every new month or every new quarter, they start at zero. So they're back to that hunting again. And when they start to shift to understanding that there's one source and infinite channels, then they don't get so attached, and they develop entirely new skills around how to deal with things that change. We develop a relationship with change and impermanence, and one opportunity going away, but another one is there. So we start to see things through the energy of abundance. And it isn't just internal to ourselves, but it's kind of your whole worldview can start to open up. And this is where you start to relax. You can have space for fun. You can have space for humanity, and not just that hard work that Andrea was talking about at the beginning. It's like we see this in our clients. Women are burnt out. They're exhausted. They never quite can feel like they're arriving. And so that lack lens just shows up everywhere in our lives. So that was what was coming through.
Yeah, no, and it's very true. And when you think about this, sometimes I think we do need to take a step back, because when we start to go into that lack, we close down. We do this where we really close down. And you've got to look, I mean, you're in the US, I'm in Canada. There are opportunities everywhere. Really. There are, and the problem is we've got this lens, right? And this is something I've really, really experienced working one-on-one with clients, is that once they do the work, they come to me and they want to make a career switch, and I always call it the list. I've got this list of 4 things that I think I can do, right? Those are the opportunities that are available to me. And this is lists. And I always say, we're never going to throw away the list. I always say, throw away the list, because there is this. And then once we work together, and it's like all of a sudden, it's like this whole world has opened up. And so it's also recognizing, like, when we go into that place, we really, really shut down. But take a look back, like, we are in North America. We are in North America. And even if you're in Europe, I mean, it's going to be obvious in countries, it's not going to be the situation. However, there are opportunities everywhere. But once we decide there's only a few, guess what our reality is? Only a few. Mm-hmm. And then that's when we go into that hustle mode, the chase mode, right? Like you said, there's infinite channels out here. There truly is. Another example I'll hear is, when I start to work with women and they want to make a career change, and they'll be like, well, what if it doesn't work, right? Which is an understandable question, right? Completely valid question. And I'm like, so what if it doesn't work? And what would you do? I asked them, what would you do if it didn't work? And they're like, well, I could always go back. Like, yeah, you could. You actually could go back. However, what is so interesting as they move along, they're like, I can never go back because now my eyes have been opened. My eyes have been opened. So when I'm like, because of this scarcity model that we've been living in our society, we're not even seeing, we're not even seeing everything that's out there because we've begun to shut down. And I think it's gotten particularly bad in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
I think COVID was a big part of that too, right? I think COVID started that scarcity. If you look back to even to 2020, we had I don't know what it was like in your world, but like the whole toilet paper incident, right? Where people were, and that's scarcity. That's a scarcity mindset. However, when you open your eyes and you look, yeah, it doesn't need to be this one company. That's one company. Do you know how many companies are out there?
Right.
We've got millions upon millions of people and opportunities, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is if you're chasing after this one opportunity that you think is the best for you, you're missing all of this,
Right.
all of it. And that's one of the things that I definitely see with women is we pick an opportunity. And this is with people in general. We pick an opportunity or two. I want to work for XYZ company. And I want to work for a Fortune 500. I want to work for a company that meets all of these criteria, this list of what we think we want. And then we just keep relentlessly going for that company, not realizing that actually way over here there's some way better opportunities. But we don't give up. We keep hunting, we keep hunting, we keep hunting, we keep hunting. And in that process, we devalue ourselves. We continually chip away because we're being rejected and rejected and rejected and rejected.
We have a comment here from Amy, which I love. Agreed with COVID and scarcity mindset. It almost set your thought to be happy with what you have as you can lose so much. I think that's a great insight. And, with that, I would love this episode to be kind of, a reset button for people, a wake up call and a reset button. It's like, yes, we went through that. And it really, I actually did an energy healing recently where the whole theme was around healing from the impact of COVID. I mean, it was a global thing. And where, the impact and the healing opportunities, which by the way, little foreshadowing, we're going to talk about healing traumas with your work life. But we can reclaim our power by doing this awareness practices. Is scarcity real, or is it how I'm looking at life? And we're here to say it's how you're looking at things. And you absolutely have the power to open up to the abundance that, like you said, is always already here. We just have to, wake up to our value. Like I get to want what I want and believe that it's available.
Yeah, that's so good. I'm really glad you brought that up about the trauma of the last few years and also the layoffs. Right. And I think, for me, be mindful of what you're allowing into your mindset. Because if we keep reading online all about layoffs and like that is going to it's going to continually reinforce this idea that there's not much out there. So Sonia, do you want to dive into get really into the nitty gritty now of how to actually do that? Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
I'm fine. I'm happy to start because I know we'll just go off in different in the deeper dives here. So the bottom line around how do you become the prize? And it was funny because I asked this of Andrea. It's like, okay, so what is the punchline when we talk about this? And Andrea's answer was exactly the same as mine, which is you choose you first. You choose you first. So I invite whoever's listening to this to think about, remember, if you're in hunter mode or in competitor mode for scarce opportunities, you are hoping to be chosen among this ocean of competition, right? So we are already setting ourselves up in our mindset, lack and scarcity. I am waiting and hoping to be chosen by the prize to allow me to be a part of that, right? So one of my favorite mantras in all that I teach and do as an empowerment coach is your consciousness creates your reality. Okay, but creating your reality does not mean controlling your reality. So it's about showing up for yourself differently. So choosing yourself, I mean, just imagine leaving this call and going into your life and just being curious about what would it look like for me to choose myself first in any given situation. All right. So let's say you are going through the I'm going to get 100 resumes out approach, right? And you become aware that you're like, oh my gosh, I mean, I'm competing for scarce opportunities. I'm waiting for someone to choose me. I'm hoping that somebody will choose me and choose my resume, out of an ocean of resumes. You just would stop. Say, what would it look like to choose myself first? Well, maybe that you have the thought, you know what? I am so sick of working on resumes. I'm fried, I'm burnt out, I'm tired. I really just need to go for a walk. And you go for a walk. Believe it or not, that moment of choice where instead of doing what you thought you needed to do because there's scarce opportunities, to I'm going to choose myself because I value my sanity and my well-being. And I want to play. I want to breathe in the fresh air. It doesn't matter that you're not focusing on job stuff. It's the energy of I value myself. And just that shift, it's in consciousness. It's not in doing, it's in how your being becomes magnetic and irresistible to life. Basically, life follows your lead. It's like, oh, she's choosing her. Let's send her more manifestations and opportunities of people who are going to choose her. It's literally mathematical in that how you are with yourself is how life shows up for you. That's our tagline. When you start showing up for yourself, your next steps show up for you. Something about showing up it's equal, right? That part is mathematical, but the part about what you focus on doesn't need to be mathematical, right? So let's say you want to experience not just being chosen, but being valued, right? And you want someone to value you with a promotion, with more money, with signing up to be your client. You want them to value you. You want them to want you. We all want that experience. That's the feeling of being sought after. Well, how and where in your life do you feel valued, right? If hanging out with your kitty cat who just purrs all over you makes you feel valued, go do that, right? If hanging out with a friend or actually investing time at the gym because you value your health, show up for yourself that way. And it doesn't matter what you're focusing on. The essence is more important than the form. That's the world of energy. So you focus on the essence of being valued, you're going to start to see with those new lenses and experience opportunities to be valued. So that's where I thought I'd start. What's coming up for you, Andrea?
So good. So good. And Amy said, love that, showing up for yourself differently. Yeah. We've been conditioned that we are last. Oh my gosh, Amy. Yes, we really have. We've made ourselves last, and then we hope somebody else will pick us first.
100%.
We've all done it. Like we've all done it, like there's definitely no judgment on my part. How many times have I done that? But that is literally what we're doing. We're saying, I'm not valuable enough. I don't value myself enough. Yet I expect you to.
Right.
I'm not investing in myself. Yet I expect you to. I'm not, whatever it is. I'm not, getting this enough, but I expect somebody else, a company, a person, an opportunity, whatever it is, we expect it from the outside world, yet we don't give it to ourselves. And that will block everything. It literally shuts off everything. And it can be a real mind F-U-C-K. I'm just going to see it. It's going to be because we've been so conditioned to do, and it can feel really like you might have resistance when Sonia said, like, say you're somebody who's unemployed right now and is like, you want me to stop sending out resumes and go play with my cat? It can feel very, very triggering. I'm not doing enough.
Mm-hmm.
And what is not doing enough? Scarcity mindset. Like, it's a sick circle, is what I'm saying. Like, it will keep cropping up. And there's so much awareness. And that's, what we're trying to hone here is like, it crops up everywhere. We don't even see it, right? So I think that was really, really so critically important. So it's just about like, how are you seeing yourself? How are you valuing yourself? And what are you giving to yourself and your own beingness? So in terms of, I'll add a new one here. And this is something I do with clients all the time. This is so important, is what we do in this society, and we've been conditioned to do it, really, because so we're all in this habit. And the reason why I always say that is because when everybody around you is doing it, you don't see it anymore. Like, you just don't see it. We go on autopilot. We've been doing it for so long, and everyone else is around. And we're trying to get you off autopilot, basically, what we're trying to do in these lives. But what we do is we achieve things. Okay, so we do things in our life. We go to work, we maybe exercise, we do all these things in our life. And then it becomes kind of routine. Okay, so we keep doing it, and it's not new anymore. We just keep doing it, right? And then we start to add more because we want the feeling of accomplishment. We want that almost like that fuel. I want to feel like I'm doing more. I want to feel more valued. So we add more on our plate. And then after a while, we're just kind of used to it. It's just what we do. And then we want that feeling again. So we add more on our plate. We keep doing this. And this is also leading to burnout. This is one of the biggest causes, because what we keep doing is we want to feel valued. We want to feel, get the opportunities or whatever it looks like. And so we keep piling more onto our plate. And this is exhausting. But what we've done, a couple of things we've done, is first of all, we've exhausted ourselves, which is not good. The second thing we've done is we've completely disregarded everything we've done in the past. It's like once we've done it for a while, maybe it was 10 years ago we did something, we disregard it. So an exercise, if you want an exercise, how do you do this? Make a list, sit down with yourself, and make a list of all the things you've accomplished, all the things you do in a day, all the value you have brought, and it's not just what other people might value or like an accolade you got at work. Like, when did you show up differently, and what are all the things that you're doing that maybe nobody else is also, not noticing? Because this is what I know for sure. I 100%, all the clients I work with completely undervalue what they've done and what they're capable of. We've lost sight of this because this world is in competition. So we just like toss it aside. It's like, it's not important. It's not valuable. But until you see it, until you own it and embody it and really like own it, that's the best way I can put it. Again, no one else is going to see it either. No one else is going to value it either. And so before you do, anything, if you're going for opportunities right now, sit, brainstorm, and write all these things out and honor yourself and everything you've done and been at this moment. So I just got a comment from Amy. We have to have our own barometers in life, not holding them against other people. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So Sonia, got some more? So I got one more too I want to share, but I'll let you go next.
Okay. Yeah, I think the thing that when you talked about how some of these concepts that we're offering, some of these practices around choosing yourself first can be triggering, I really wanted to offer a little bit more support, because we're talking about a 180-degree turnaround from how most people are operating, especially when, we are, feeling traumatized, triggered, afraid, maybe unemployed. We are both so aware of that because we've actually lived through it. So it's not just like these nice ideas. We've been through our own chapters of, going through the fire of when challenge and adversity comes. And so this is also learned and well practiced, through personal experience, not just our training as, in our roles. And so a way to look at this that is another aspect of how to value yourself, choose yourself first so that you become the energy and the embodiment that then brings others choosing yourself first, is to shift from this idea that you need to fix yourself, like something is wrong with you or you're not enough, to just stop the fixing and shift to nurturing. Okay. When you nurture yourself, all kinds of abundance is happening. All kinds of abundance is happening. First of all, you're regarding your needs with great respect. Yes, I have needs, I have wants, and they are good and valuable, rather than what's wrong with me for having these needs and just feeling sad and feeling scared and feeling anxious. And like, stop fixing that. Your anxiety is legitimate, your fear is legitimate, your sadness is legitimate, your stress. It's like that's you, that's your presence, not your productivity. So the abundance of my needs actually are a part of my abundance. They're a part of me. This is part of what makes me brilliant. Remember, living in your own skin, being confident in that, because all of you is welcome. And when all of you is welcome, you can actually come to the world with your wholeness, offering the value of your wholeness, not just pieces of you that are checking off the boxes that feel like enough, right? So there's abundance in the nurturing. And then when you are nurturing yourself, you are receiving love and attention and energy from yourself. Why? Simply because you exist. Not because you earned it, not because you figured it out, not because you put in enough time, just because you exist. Back to what Andrea was saying with the self-value, simply because we exist, right? Talk about receiving for no I call it unconditional receiving instead of conditional or transactional receiving, which is what most of us are trained in. So I just really wanted to offer that for anyone who's like getting like, oh my God, I can't even imagine stepping away from my resumes. Resumes, are you trying to fix a whole bunch of problems, problem solving mode? Just stop. You can always go back to them. We're not saying don't, you got to take some action. This isn't 100% of the strategy, but if you want to start relating to and seeing abundance, stop the fixing, stop the problem solving, step away, nurture yourself. Just get curious about it. Even if you have no idea how to nurture yourself, you'll automatically be stepping into the energy of abundance.
So good. I think what you said is so important, is just be curious.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that is, it's like when what we're doing is not working, it's an opportunity to take a step back and be curious. What am I doing? How am I feeling? Like, how am I actually feeling right now? And because so much of what we do, again, is on this autopilot. We just keep doing and doing and doing, and we're not even checking in with ourselves at any point. We just keep going, well, this is and this is what we've been taught, right? This is what we've been taught, is just keep going. And it really is, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have the answers in that moment. It can just be, what I'm doing is not working, and I just need to lean out of whatever I'm doing, even if it's for an hour, and give yourself permission. This is honestly one of the biggest things you can do for yourself right now in this world that is so intense and moving forward. We talk about space, right? We've talked about space in a lot of our episodes. It's like, just give yourself some space to think about, like, how am I approaching this? How am I going about doing what I'm doing? And am I in the right energetics? Do I feel good about this? How do I feel? How do I want to feel? And that's one of the most important questions I think we can ask, is how do I actually want to feel in this moment? And how do I get there? How do I do this? And sometimes it's literally just choosing an emotion. It's just choosing it. I choose to feel something different, or I'm willing, right? Willing to feel something different. So the last thing I want to add here, and this is really, it's really, how do I want to say this? when you start to value yourself and really own your needs as good and valuable, when you start to own your truth and who you are, and that you are worthy of receiving everything that you want and desire just because you exist, that's all beautiful and it's wonderful, but it's slightly incomplete in that what we also need to do is to shut doors and walk away and detach from the opportunities that don't align with you, which can feel really scary. Because especially if you're deep in scarcity, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm saying no to this over here. What if something over here doesn't happen? Here's the problem. The energetics of that is when you say yes to things you don't want, you say, and you allow yourself to be maybe mistreated or just in places where you're not being valued, the energetics of what you are sending out into the universe, into the world, whatever you want to call it, is that I will take anything. And because the universe is wise and loving, guess what it does? It sends you everything. And you don't want everything. You know, you go to an interview and you're having this intuitive feeling that this is not going to be good for me. But you know what? The company name, your logical brain is going, the company name is so good, and blah, 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 whatever stories you've got going on, right? We've all done this. But listening to your intuition when it says, this isn't going to be good for you, and honoring that part of you, because energetically, what you're sending out is the message that I am valuable. How I feel in this moment matters. And that is one of the most powerful things you can do to shift your opportunities that are coming your way. And I'm going to tell you right now, that is one of the hardest things to do. It can be extremely challenging because it's going to go right up against your scarcity. And this notion that we're supposed to keep all our options open is garbage. Sometimes we're meant to close doors, and you can do it professionally and gracefully and all those things. You also don't have to tell people either. Like, because some people will think you're crazy, right? You turn down that job, or it's like, but it doesn't feel good. I mean, I don't know about you, Sonia, and maybe you can speak to this too. Like, I've been on calls with people who've, wanted to work with me or whatnot. And I'm like, we're just not a fit.
Mhm. Oh yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I have very specific memories and examples when I was still working on this very concept about feeling safe enough to say no to something that the universe was giving. Because I mean, when we're in survival or scarcity, it's like the drowning man grasping, right?
Yeah.
And every time I have said yes to somebody who I knew wasn't a match, or worse yet, I started accommodating or discounting. These were in my earlier years as a coach. And just making it fit for them perfectly so that I'd have that client because I was in scarcity mode. Every single time it bit me in the butt. And every single time I learned a very painful yet very valuable lesson of like, if I say yes to something I don't want, I'm going to manifest not wanting that client. It's just, and every single time, by the way, I have this saying that resentment is my best friend because it always teaches me where I am settling, where I am accommodating, where I'm not honoring myself. Every policy and procedure that I have in my business is because I felt resentful, and I'm like, never again, because I am not allowing my resentment to infect the purity of my work. So yes to that. Saying no, it is scary, it is hard, but when you learn the skills to replace the scarcity with nurturing and abundance, and just start gently, just gently be curious. You don't have to do this all at once. Just know that you have options to the hunter scarcity model. You have abundance available. Just start. Here's a great back to the how to. And I know we need to start looking at wrapping up, but this is a great practice. When you are catching yourself being in scarcity and thinking there's no abundance, just change that statement to a question. Where is there abundance here? Just ask. Your lens will stop looking for proof of scarcity and start looking for where there's abundance. And immediately you start to change your lens.
That's so true. I mean, there's all kinds of brain science, energetic, all kinds of like science behind that. It's like that black car, right? You buy a black car, a certain model or whatever, and all things, and you see it everywhere.
Right. Exactly.
It's the same thing. You say, where is it? Your mind literally starts scanning for opportunities, right?
That are already here.
That are exactly. They were there the whole time, right? But I really felt like the whole thing about closing doors has been really coming in strongly this year for so many people, because we are in such overwhelm. So many people are in such overwhelm, and we really need to embrace this closing doors and saying, not for me, not for me. It is one of the, and I think as women, and I know we're going over, but I'm just really want to say this because I think it needs to be said, especially as women. We don't like to do that. But it is one of the most deepest forms of self-love and self-honoring you can do. Saying, I appreciate this. This is a wonderful opportunity, or you seem like a wonderful person, whatever it is. However, it's not for me right now. And just be okay with that, and be okay if it feels really kind of gross in your stomach too at the time, because that's where your solar plexus is. That's your sense of personal power, and it might show up in your body places, anywhere in your body, and just be okay, and that trust and that faith comes in. So, any final words before I wrap it up, Sonia?
I think this is a good place to hit the pause button.
Okay, so next week, or actually 2 weeks, so February 22nd, we're doing 2 weeks, doing every 2-week episodes. It's episode number 9, which is heal your career wounds. We know so many of you have got trauma associated with your careers, with your job. A lot's been happening in the last few years all around business, and we want to have a whole conversation around that. So the details will be forthcoming. Also, we have a YouTube channel that's just been started a couple weeks ago. All 7 episodes that we've done till now are actually on that. This episode will be there within 24 hours. So if you want to go back and listen to parts of it, it will be there. I will actually share the link to that below in the comments to today's episode. And please subscribe and like and share any comments there as well as here. And also, please share any comments you've got. DM us, let us know any questions you have or any of your thoughts. Amy, going to be a good one. Look forward to it. Awesome. Yeah, it's a really relevant topic. We talk to you all. We know what you're going through. So we want to shed some light on this and give you some tools and strategies. So take care, you all, and we'll talk to you soon.